Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in Springfield at the H.D. Smith Company, where they'll soon celebrate their 60th anniversary in business. They employ 250 people here in Springfield, more than 850 people nationwide. They have grown exponentially to the point where they're now the largest privately owned wholesale drug distributorship in the country. Henry Dale, take me back to the beginning of the H.D. Smith Company. How did you get it started?
Well, the beginning of this company was on a visit by my mother and father to Springfield. My mother was the 12th of a North Dakota family.
Wow.
And her next of kin, next sibling, was the first CPA in Springfield.
Really?
So my mom and dad were visiting in Springfield, and they were having dinner with my aunt and uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And my father had recently just sold his stores. That's why I told you about the belt system.
Yeah.
And sold them to his local partners in the communities around Spartanburg and North and South Carolina and Georgia, one in Georgia. So my dad asked who was the wholesaler here in Springfield, and my uncle thought, and he said, no, there is not one.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad, being an inquisitive person, had to leave the table and go look in the phone book to make sure that my uncle was correct.
That there were no wholesale drug distributors.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, there was none.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first inkling.
Did you and your dad start the company then?
Well, unfortunately, my father died a few months after that.
I see.
He was at a trade association meeting at the Greenbrier in West Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
and his plan was to come on to Springfield and locate a building, but unfortunately he died
Mm-hmm.
at that meeting. Well, it was a couple of years before we were able to get ourselves organized enough to come up here. Yeah.
And
so
you,
we did that.
And you did, and you finally settled on a building on, was it 4th Street?
Yes. Yeah.
And it doesn't look anything like your facility today.
No, on the inside it did, but not on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That building actually gave out, but we had already moved from it.
Mm-hmm.
So when some bricks began to fall off of the building, we just pulled it down.
Yeah, yeah. How would you describe your secret for growing a business?
Well, our method was good service. In the wholesale drug business, you really don't have much else to sell because all of your competitors have all of the items that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So you differentiate yourself by the services you give. And we were fortunate in '54 when we began, in that there were still afternoon newspapers. Now, there's nothing as old as yesterday's newspaper. We sent our deliveries out primarily by two Ralphs. One, Ralph Hayes, went west, and the other, Ralph Barr, went east. So these people could actually call us in the morning and get an order delivered to them in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the
secret.
That was the secret, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You could do that, and nobody else was doing that. Same day delivery. Wow.
Nobody else could do it, and could do it over consistently and over a considerable area.
Chris, I have heard H.D. Smith Company called the biggest Springfield company people haven't heard of. Have you heard that? Or do you ever get that reaction from people?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How many employees do you have here?
Well, in Springfield, I think about 250, and across the country, over 850.
850 across the country, mm-hmm. 250 of them are here in Springfield. And you're a rather, to put it politely, you're a rather low-profile company.
Yeah, that's true.
And you like it that way.
Well, it reflects the character of our founder and Dale and I's father, mm-hmm. that he's a pretty low-key person. Also, when you're going into business and you're selling drugs, some of which are controlled substances, that kind of dictates that you want to be kind of low profile so to not detract attention.
Got it, got it. But in the process, really from its starting in 1954, your dad and you and your brother have built this company up to be the 4th largest company of its kind in the country, and the largest privately owned wholesale drug distributor in the country. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
It takes a lot of work, doesn't it?
It does, and we obviously didn't do it by ourselves, and actually in 1954 I really wasn't there to open the warehouse, but we've had a lot of great people work for us over the years, and as we've grown we've added people, and that's continued to fuel our growth.
Talk about growing. You're to the point now, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you have 7 divisions now?
Yes.
And a division is actually a place where you have an office and a warehouse set up, and it kind of operates somewhat autonomously, doesn't it?
Yes, it's a separate business or profit center in that sense, although it's all wholly owned. And in addition to that, we have some subsidiaries as well.
Mm-hmm. So you do actually have a national footprint. You can serve almost anywhere in the country. Is that true?
Yes.
And how do you do it?
Well, we take orders and we deliver product. But obviously, at one time we were a single location, and then expanded and had added locations to different geographies to serve additional geographies, and went with a decentralized approach, which means we needed strong leadership in the different divisions that we had, mm-hmm. and empower those people to run the company along the values of H.D. Smith, but in those locations, they are H.D. Smith to the employees and customers in that area.
Right. You're going to help us visit one of your divisions. Of course, it's the one here in Springfield,
mm-hmm.
and we'll see how that operates. And that operates very similarly to the other 6 divisions around the country, so people would get an idea how each division operates.
Yes.
But just to give a scope of the business, not only do you have 7 divisions, but you have hundreds of thousands of products and probably hundreds of thousands of customers. Your main, what is your main of percentage of customers? What would you say? Is it pharmacies that are your main?
Yeah, independent pharmacies make up about 70% of our customer base.
And independent, so that's like, that could be mom and pop companies, or just companies that aren't owned by the Walgreens of the world and the
right.
CVSs.
They're individually owned businesses, often in smaller communities, although we do have a lot of independents in some major metropolitan areas as well.
How have you positioned your business to serve those independents?
We've really very intentionally pushed the point of decision in a number of critical areas, such as customer service, credit, sales, and operations, down to the distribution level. And the vice president general division managers who run those divisions have the authority to make a lot of decisions that impact the customer themselves immediately, so that we can be very responsive to customer needs.
Mm-hmm. So if I'm a pharmacy, privately owned pharmacy, I could expect to call you with an order today and to get it, what, tomorrow?
Yes, and that's now done through the web. We have a web ordering system where they would place the order, and it would be picked in the evening and delivered the next morning. In some of the major metropolitan areas, we have twice-a-day delivery, where it would come in the morning and get delivered in the afternoon, in addition to getting an afternoon order to be delivered the next day.
Would you attribute the ability to respond to your customers' needs, for instance, sometimes twice-a-day delivery, did that accelerate your growth?
Certainly, certainly. When we moved into the New York market, that was something that was really, I think, critical to serving the customer's needs there, and we had to be able to provide that, and did from the get-go.
Mm-hmm. That was something that people in New York were not accustomed to, that kind of service.
Well, some of them were, and it's interesting, the independently owned wholesalers tended to provide that, and the larger chain wholesalers did not, and it was a point of distinction between the two.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And most of the, now all the independent wholesalers in New York have gone away except for H.D. Smith.
Mm-hmm. I have one last question for you before we go to tour your division. With all the changes in the health care, and who's going to be paying for what, and what services and goods and products are going to be available, how do you prepare for those kinds of things in business when you don't know what's coming around the corner?
Well, you take your best guess and put your money on that, and certainly we as a company have made investments in companies such as Triple Fin that provides solutions for manufacturers and helping them get their product to market, that we think will continue to make product available to us to distribute and make us a distributor of choice, both for the manufacturers we distribute for and the customers we distribute to.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of a scary time in your business, isn't it?
Well, I don't consider it scary as much as exciting.
Really?
Because
you like change?
when there's change, there's opportunity, and this company, every time it's been faced with a challenge to grow or fade away, we've always doubled down and invested in growing and changing, and so far that's been successful.
And been successful, yeah. Well, thank you, and also thank you in advance for the opportunity to visit the division and the warehouse to see how that works.
You're welcome.
Well, Bill Bodine, you're a vice president with the company, and you're a district manager?
Division manager.
Division manager, okay. And within this company, there are 7 divisions like this one around the country,
Correct.
right? And we're in a 77,000 square foot warehouse, which is where all of the pharmaceuticals and the health products and the products that go to hospitals, et cetera, come in here to be stored and then to be shipped back out as product to your customers. This is quite an operation.
Impressive, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. What part of the area are we standing in?
Right now we're in the receiving area. So right this morning, on a Friday morning, we're taking product in from all the manufacturers. We have separate buy schedules based on their lead time and number of deliveries that they can make to us, their order minimums. And so we're receiving product. It could be boxes of prescription vials or wheelchairs, things that are going to go into our case good racks here. Prescription products that are coming in through a FedEx or UPS through the garage, being rolled into the cardboard boxes here.
Product comes in here.
We're breathing product in today. And tonight, even on a Friday night, we're going to do a pick of product and push product out to our pharmacies and hospitals.
Okay, so morning the product comes in. Your salespeople are taking orders all day long, and then in the evening you spend the whole night getting it ready to go out.
In theory, yes. Okay. Some of the salespeople are in the process of bringing on more customers, and the customers are going to be placing their orders through a real-time, internet-based application that shows them there are quantities on hand available to order, their costs, their pricing, when they can expect that product. But pharmacies typically are going to order from up until 7 or 8 o'clock at night, depending on their location, and they're going to receive their product tomorrow. Pharmacies aren't really interested in having a lot of excess inventory, so we're a significant player in that market to allow them to help keep their healthcare costs down.
Now, behind you, we got Sally working over here. She's one of many people that are bringing product in. What is she up to right there?
Sally's in the process of receiving some product today. She's doing a three-way match between her buyer's purchase order, the invoice, and then doing a physical count of the inventory. And so Sally's in the process of making sure that this works, that we get that match so we can pay that vendor. And then we're going to be assigning a sticker to it that says that we've received it correct, and it's going to be then given a location in our warehouse. There's 31,000 different products that I carry here in 38,000 different stocking locations.
Oh my goodness.
So I have some backup or reserve locations for some of the highest moving prescription products.
31,000 different products.
Yes.
Wow. So if we look this way, we can kind of see what you're talking about. We look down this aisle.
You're going to see down the aisle, you're going to see big boxes. You're going to see pallets full of nutritional supplements or baby formula, bags of IV antibiotics for hospitals, hospital bed wedges, lift chairs, many different type of products that are big and bulky that are going to be utilized in a retail setting or in a home health care standalone store, or bagged and used in a hospital environment.
And then if we look straight down the aisle and up to the top, you can see there's a second story up there, and we're going to go up there, and that's where your more controlled and more expensive items are, prescription items.
Those are our prescription products that are stored up there. And so the high dollar of some of the branded products, we're able to segregate them, place them in a special area of our facility where we're able to have some of our better pickers, our faster pickers, process those. That's the bulk of what we do. Is if I say 80 to 85% of our dollars in product and sales are generated from that area.
Wow. And so it's really, it costs a lot to house this big stuff, but the real money is in the small stuff.
Well, as far as the actual cost, because of some of the branded prescription products and the prices that they carry in the market.
So could we go ahead and say what you were going to say.
I was going to say, so the process of being able to bring product in and replenish our inventory frequently, just like the pharmacies want to do, is they dispense a prescription out, they're going to generate kind of a just-in-time refill to replenish their inventory at their pharmacy. And we're in turn going to be able to have that at their store tomorrow. So don't get upset if your pharmacist says I'll have that for you in the morning. Yeah. Now you understand why.
Okay. Well, listen, would you take us upstairs next?
Absolutely.
Let's go this way. Okay, Bill, as we look over down into the warehouse area where we were standing, we are now upstairs, and you have grabbed a tote which is really, this kind of controls how your employees send out the right product in the right amounts.
Absolutely. This particular process starts when the customer places an order, and our computer system will spool the order, will release them in different waves based on where that order is going to be delivered, and delivering for our furthest points, working our way back. But this particular printer will print off a label. This particular label here was for Moreland and Devitt Pharmacy in Rushville, and our courier company is identified on it, their account number is identified on it. The computer knows if we need a large tote or a small tote, so we're not wasting space. And the RF gun, or the handheld unit that our pickers are going to use, are going to scan the barcode and scan our license plate on the tote. So it basically matches the process of this page of the invoice is in this box.
Okay, and then how does the picker know what goes in the box?
And so as soon as they finish marrying that label to the tote, they're going to then look at their handheld unit, and it's going to tell them, based on the locations, what product needs to be picked in the quantity. And so they would come into this particular location, and it would tell them how many pieces or bottles of this particular product that customer had placed in that order. And they would scan the barcode on the product and then place it into the tote. It would then tell them where the next pick zone is. And the pick zones are laid out so we have some of the bigger, heavier liquids on the bottom so we're not damaging any product. And then we're going to roll the product through our RX static shelving on this side. It loops around to a static, or to flow racks rather, on the other side. And then the product, if there's additional picks, are going to come in to the static shelves behind here. There's an additional 8,500 stocking locations in all those shelving.
Wow. Now, and we're here in the morning, so there's not a lot of picking going on. Although there is a little bit, but most of these folks up here get busy in the afternoon, don't they?
Correct. There's two busy times. First is when they're putting away the product. So there's a couple of folks putting product away that's been received already this morning. And then in the evening, the product is going to be picked. And so we're going to place about 8 employees upstairs here to be picking from the flow racks and the static shelving.
And you'll deliver, in many cases, you'll deliver to a pharmacy every day. If that's what they want.
Sometimes 6 days a week.
Wow, that's amazing. And the tote comes back the next day. I mean, you keep those totes full, don't you?
We keep them full. We keep them rotating. You know, pharmacists don't have a lot of space behind the counters to carry extra packages, so we seek to have the drivers deliver the product, to ask if there's any returns, any empty totes. Some of them might even still be using old narcotic blanks to send in their next order for C2 products.
Now, some of this stuff has to be refrigerated.
Yes.
And I'd kind of like to see how that works.
Let's go downstairs.
Well, Bill, I mentioned refrigerated, and you know, it's not a huge part of your business, but you do have a substantial amount of product that has to be kept cold.
Absolutely. You think a lot of the insulins, a lot of the biotech injectables, or new specialty medications are all kept cold, and this is our refrigerator.
Okay, let's take a look. So I guess the obvious question is, yeah, you could keep them cold, but then how do you deliver?
Well, styrofoam coolers and freezer packs. So
no kidding.
In a cold chain storage shipment process.
So you don't need a reefer truck.
Nope.
You've got that covered. Well, let's see how that works.
In the summer times, we'll utilize coolers year-round, but summertime we'll increase the number of freezer packs or cold packs that we keep in a freezer here to help make sure that it arrives at the pharmacy at the appropriate temperature. So there's a freezer pack, freezer with all of our freezers.
Hundreds of freezer packs. And then these go right in the tote with the product. Huh?
Yep.
Neat.
So that way we ensure the temperature control and the range and stability of the product.
I assume, Bill, that security is a big issue when you're in the drug business.
Absolutely. Throughout this process, you've been on over 38 different cameras that are computer recorded.
No kidding, they're all through here. Huh?
Absolutely.
So they're watching every move of all the employees. Okay.
24/7, motion detected, exterior of the building, interior of the building, and then certain areas within the building even have to have additional concerns and precautions And this is an example of one of them. It's our methamphetamine control cage, where we actually have to have Sudafeds and iodines and other products that are used in that market without the right intentions.
And there are a lot of products, drugs, that are even more secure than the Sudafeds of the
Absolutely.
world, right? And so you have, this is an example, but you have much more secure areas than this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we're not going to show that because it's security, right?
Thank
but
you.
I mean, when you're talking about controlled substances, which you and all drug dealers are involved with, you got to be very careful.
Yeah, the orders that are in there are double checked when they're received. So they're received by one person, they're put away by another person. There's special paperwork and forms that we have to file with the DEA upon receipt. And then the pharmacist likewise has to have a secure system to order them. And we in turn have one person pick that order and a second person check that order. And then that's monitored the entire way from our distribution center to that pharmacy. It's always under constant surveillance.
Give me some examples of what kind of products those would be.
Those would be your C2 narcotics. So some of the widely abused products that are on the market today, the OxyContins, the hydrocodones, the carisoprodals, tramadols. Many of those prescription products that have very legitimate and good medical use, but sometimes are written and used in the wrong way.
Yeah. Well, Dale, H.D. Smith, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the 4th largest wholesale drug distributor in the country.
We are.
And do you intend to keep it that way, or do you intend to grow a little bit?
Well, we intend to grow. One of the challenges is that the other 3 are, not just a little bigger, but they're a lot bigger. So our goal is not to be bigger than they are, but to really focus on being better and being better in specific areas and ways that aren't as significant to them.
And how would you do that? I mean, you have expanded now to where you have a national reach.
Right.
How would you grow?
Well, a couple of areas. One, we're targeted on certain individual segments of the business, focused on retail, which is a critical part for us. We do business with about 1/6 of the independent or community-based pharmacies in the country. We go through and focus on community-based hospital systems, and that's been a significant growth area for us, as well as some larger systems. So those are areas where we think we can grow. And then third, we deal with a lot of specialty pharmacies and specialty distribution. Specialty products are going to be growing dramatically, and so that's probably the leading area of growth for us.
You have in the past also, through acquisitions, grown. Is that in the plan at all?
Not in the short term. Over the last 6 months, we've made 2 acquisitions, one in Northern California, which is a traditional wholesale drug company, but with an emphasis on generic pharmaceuticals. And generics, of course, are very fast-growing as well. But also on a specialty services company, a specialty company based in Cincinnati. The specialty services piece is a huge growth. And what that does is we've got what's called a hub organization, and it takes the needs of patients, providers, payers, and basically manufacturers to be able to put all that together and coordinate the care around the patient's needs.
Well, thank you for allowing us to come in and get a look at the company. We appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Every company involved in healthcare services or products has a lot of unanswered questions in the near future. At H.D. Smith, they're counting on their attention to customer service to help them succeed. With another Illinois Story in Springfield, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send $19.95 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.